Nerdarchy here, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with, well, one of the colleagues and a special guest, Scott
Garibay. Nice. Hey.
So what we want to talk about is you proposed a D20 modern game, and essentially it's Nerdarchy Saves the World.
Indeed, yes.
Now, the way this came about was kind of interesting in the sense that, you know, you run story arcs and then, like, the game ends. And you ended the last one was at the end point, and we're like, all right, we're ready for the next session. Yeah. But you're kind of standing there going, but the game's over. You guys won.
Yeah. So basically, I run from a perspective of this game's going to fall apart, right? And the reason why is you got 4 or 5 people at the table, and and you guys are incredibly blessed, and I've been amazed at how sticky and persistent your games are, because I've switched to this 3, 5, 7 story arc. Done, get out. Everybody has a goodwill for the game, right?
Like a one-night stand.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't want, you want people to walk away from campaigns with a good.
2, you don't want her to know where you live.
with a good sense, if that was a successful story arc, and so the last story arc was a Lewis and Clark situation, and you guys were sent out, by Darsa, and was this catfolk, and he was leading this slave race who is now living in a country where they used to be slaves, and they're like, we got to get out of here. This is tense for everybody, and so he sent you out to Aseant. You guys explored Aseant, and categorized all the plants. Here's the weapons. Here's the coins. Everything was successful, and then to the point where you even established allies, and you brought the entire race over. I'm like, done. That's a story. We're good. And you guys were like, those Grey Riders are still out there. We're gonna go to war. We're gonna kill them. And and so that's one of the things that's great is this whole idea of player agency, the perception of the players as opposed to the perception of the GM. And I've started to DM differently, where I'm leaving it open, and I won't add more detail than necessary, because a lot of times the perceptions the players have fill in or actually open a very clear door to, like, here's this new thing we can do. And so Bart was really excited about going to war and, like, having an entire army behind him and killing every Grey Rider there was.
I have to say that for all intents and purposes, you ran the first session. You're like, okay, did you guys like it? Did you have fun? And we're like, yeah. He's like, okay, well, and I could certainly, or you said you could certainly run a 6-session arc. Yeah. So we ran 3 sessions, and we completed our objective that we received on the first one. But my brain said, okay, well, Scott said he was running a 6-session arc. So I just naturally assumed that there was 3 more sessions of what you had already written.
My brain eliminated that first conversation completely, and I'm like, I'm playing D&D, and what do you do after you complete a story arc? You
move on to the next one.
And see, and actually, it's very different for me, because to tell the truth, one of the issues that I struggle with, and it is an issue, but I am very much shiny like a crow. Yeah. And new games come up, and new Manera and Fate, and there's a guy out there, if nobody's looked him up, there's a guy out there named John Harper. He has an incredible 6-page role-playing game called Ghost Lines, which is amazing. Go find it. You'll be blessed. It's 100% free. Guy's amazing. There's all these fantastic games that are coming in, and so that's another reason why I like to run these 3, 5, 7-session story arcs, because there are amazing games dropping through Kickstarter and dropping in, and so I like to to dip into more games too, especially when I have a pile this high, and you guys are in the same boat where you have a bunch of games and you're like, I should really run some of these things I bought, so that's one of the other issues. But what happened with the modern game, to shift gears, is I was Unearthed Arcana. I think all of us are agreed. It's just been a wonderful blessing to all the players.
It's a great series. Yeah.
It's fantastic. We're getting free content that you can drop right into a game, if you want to, or you can, could throw the yellow flag and say this is too powerful. But the DMs and the players are being given more and more options through Unearthed Arcana, and the latest one was D20 Modern, and I love that original series back from when it was D20 Modern from 3rd edition, and I read it and I was like, this is it. We have the rules in the rule book about firearms. We have these D20 Modern options, and I was like, I've always had this story arc in my head where Dungeons and Dragons is not a game; it's actually a map. Gary Gygax went to D&D World, went to Faerun in 1967. came out and goes, I can't tell people that there's a real fantasy world. So
well, he would have went to Greyhawk first.
Yeah, exactly.
The nerd in me, anyway.
Right, yeah, I hear you. So,
well, guys, you know.
In my head, it's Faerun, and so the idea was he was there, and he made D&D as a game so that 30 years or even after his death, when the two worlds collided, there would be thousands of people who were perfect guides and had perfect knowledge of this other world, even though they had never been there, which makes your D&D books incredibly valuable, your D&D knowledge incredibly valuable, and it's also kind of a meta topic where I actually think those are true. My D&D books are incredibly valuable to me. They, when I was 12 years old, they told me, hey, read like crazy because what these books are is they're the ability to build new worlds, and once you're 14, you're like, I'm building an entire world in my mind. It really gives you so much confidence that you can do anything, and so I think the D20 modern game just wrote itself. So the next idea was, I'm going to smash these two worlds together, and the people who are perfectly positioned to explain to the world, this is the D&D world, these are dragons, this is a cleric, are Nerdarchy, Nerdarchy Primarchs, right? And Nerdarchy fans are then, in my opinion, a waiting army. And initially they're going to be kind of a preparatory, very powerful, like, what do you guys need in order to go out there and do your thing?
Real quick, let's insert this.
Yeah.
Nerdarchy fans, if you want to be involved in this game as an NPC, all you have to do is send an email to nerdarchy@gmail.com. You just put in there, a short bio, where you're from, maybe your occupation, any special skills you might have, how you would want to be in the game. I'm not reading these when I get them. I am just forwarding them to Scott.
Yeah, just put the word modern in the subject line. That'll make it easy for you to search on them.
Oh, yeah. On Facebook, I've been telling people to put Nerdarchy Saves the World in the subject.
Oh, that's perfect. Nerdarchy Saves the World, yeah.
And, then we'll get the information to Scott.
Even better, yeah.
We've had a couple of requests for villains. And
yeah, I already have a villain who is actually going to be... So one of the things is the way the game... So, the beginning of the game is there's a good wizard, Quairen, and she is a good wizard. And there's Uja, who is kind of an evil wizard. And he's a man who's dedicated to his goals, and he will stop at nothing to create those goals. I don't want to label him evil right out of the gate. Other people might say that, but so Uja, he gets one of every single dragon egg.
Chromatic and metallic.
Right, chromatic and metallic, and he gets 10 super powerful magical swords. Steps into the center of a ritual circle, spins up all those eggs, and spins up each of those, magical swords. And he's going to put each magical sword between, through the dragon eggs. Use all those baby dragon's blood to make himself the most super powerful wizard that's ever been on any plane. Right? Well, Quairen comes in. She interrupts the ritual, and actually there's a huge battle where Uja's 9 allies and Quairen's 7 allies battle, and what ends up happening is there's a magical explosion. Every single one of those magical eggs, the dragon eggs, the swords, and all the allies, and Uja and Quairen are all pushed into our world, right? And it starts from there. And so basically, now what happens is all these magical dragon eggs drop into our world, and one of the things I'm really fascinated about is essentially you have 10 live disasters in major cities. And so the first thing that people are going to think is they're going to get a terrorist plot, but you guys are going to be like, oh wait, look, that egg is putting off lightning bolts, and this one has acid clouds, and there's a green tint here, and so you'll be able to see, oh my gosh, these are perfectly correlated to the magical effects and the magical colors of D&D dragons. I think we have D&D dragons here in our world, and it kicks off from there. And just goes from there, and so I'm really excited about it. I think it's a really interesting idea. What do you guys think of the idea?
I'm excited about this. So we've had several conversations, me, you, Ted, Ryan, Nate, even, and so I think what we're doing is like not a direct conversion to us as D&D characters, because let's face it, we're kind of like normal dudes, and now we would be bloodstains in no time. So we're doing kind of a
fantasy has templated us is what we're looking at, and we want to use the actual rules put in the modern Magic. So we looked at the 4 Nerdarchy members, and each of us feel that individually we have a affinity towards a specific D&D race. So Dave is like, I feel more akin to dwarves. So,
transracial, if you will.
So Dave feels that, he's going to pick, I don't know, Hill Dwarf, Mountain Dwarf, but he's going to go with that. I don't know what you've chosen for a class or a background. I don't know how far you've gone. Ryan, he's looking at doing a halfling, and he wants to go the techno warlock that's in the modern Magic book. Nate is looking to test out 2 unearthed arcanas all at once. He's going to go Goliath to represent his half ogreness that we've always made jokes about that he is, and he's looking to go Mystic. And then myself, I feel...
I thought he was going to do the Techno...
Oh, is he doing Techno Wizard?
Yeah, I think he's going to do Techno Wizard.
Well, I thought he was going Mystic, but maybe he's going to mix it up and do both. Because you can do 5 levels of each, hitting 10th level. Then myself, years ago, before I had so much beard, and was definitely younger in age, I felt more akin to elves. But, with my Nerdarchy uniform, beard and glasses, I can't really fit into the elven stereotype anymore.
I don't know, man. What if one day your character wakes up and he's like clean shaven all of a sudden, hairless?
I decided I'm going to go half elf. I really like some of the stuff that they've done with half elf, and as I'm very spiritual and very akin to the cleric, I said, well, let's test out the city cleric, and maybe I'll get my hands on that gold dragon egg and protect it or whatever have you. So that's where I think a lot of us are going. Bart has some ideas that he wants to talk to me about tonight to really help hash out his ideas. Look forward to interesting to see whether whether you're going more modern, post-apocalyptic. What kind of Scrabble for resources do we get to go? I've already been putting thought in. Designs into getting access to Find Vehicle. Yeah. I think it's a fantastic spell, so I've really got that already working out.
So a few things here. One, I just want to explain to players how these racial templates and how the classes will be mapped onto Dave and Nate. And Ted. So how that's going to happen is essentially one of the dragon eggs that comes through. There's a lot of spells that were hitting these dragon eggs in this big magical maelstrom between Quiren and her allies and Uja and his allies. And so one of them was there was a spell put onto that egg that any ally who was true to heart and wanted to defend that egg, they would be equipped with levels essentially from that world and even racial templates from that world. So whatever benefit from the D&D world could be given to that ally in this new world would be mapped onto them. And so essentially there'll be magical arcs that hit these guys when they encounter the first egg, and they'll be transformed. And so they'll be themselves, but they'll have these powers that are in the WotC products, which is great. I'm really excited about that. One of the things I really am very interested now, one thing I'm okay with the direction we're going, but I actually took a little bit of I really think it's different in that there's going to be a little bit of phases with this game. So one, Uja is coming over and his magic is going to work, and Quiren's magic is work, all the allies' magic is going to work. At the same time, technology works is going to work on the D&D side, right? And so one of the things I really think is interesting is this has been in my head for a long time. What happens if D&D world was slammed into our world? And honestly, in my opinion, I think the D&D world would actually be in a lot of trouble. And the reason why is an AR-15 and the weapons that we have in this world, and even nukes, are incredibly dangerous. And the other issue is we don't hesitate. On this world, we are so aggressive and so oriented to not understanding something and attacking it right out of the gate that I think that the Uja characters, they might have a hard time in this world. So to me, I actually think that there are going to be quite a few traditional straight humans that could be incredibly dangerous to fantasy worlds, based on just think about it. I mean, we got sarin gas and there's many incredibly dangerous things on our side too.
Just forget about what offensive stuff we have. Look at the defensive stuff we have. You know, if you were to take, you know, a suit of plate mail and line that with ballistic cloth, you know, you've got armor that's gonna be incredibly useful against all types of weaponry. And they've talked about that in the Dresden book. Well, let's talk about, you know, fire retardant suits and you know, electricity conductors. So it's like, oh, someone hits you with, you know, some kind of lightning damage. Well, lightning is just electricity. So if you've got something that literally absorbs it, like, there's stuff that's out there, so it'll pull that away from you into this thing. But then you've got this battery that you can expend in some way, shape, or form. You know, I don't know all the different technologies that are out there, but I know that there's stuff that literally could just tear apart, you know, many different D&D hazards.
Yeah. Yeah, and so one of the things I really am very much interested in seeing is just the, like, one of the gate, right out of the gate, I'll tell you right now, you know, it'll probably be 2 or 3 days or weeks within the story time before you guys are going to have to determine, you know, these two worlds are slamming together, and you're going to have to say, do we, you know, raise up a group of people who are going to handle this? You know, is America going to survive as a nation? Should we allow, you know, should we be going to the government and sitting down with President Obama and saying, we need to explain this to you and you need to start mobilizing forces behind us? And, you know, or do you say, we know that the government is never going to understand this, they're not going to, you know, and so we need to put together, you know, guerrilla forces who are going to be, you know, almost like Gandalf, where I will take these actions at these points and rally these forces to me and get this equipment because I know I'm going to need it and no one else on this earth is going to understand what's happening. The other thing, I'll say this right now, you know, so for different reasons, the resurrection spell exists in the D&D side. So one of the things that's interesting is there's going to be this massive, we're going to fight, you know, like dragons are incredibly dangerous and scary to us. Drones would be super weird to them, right? But there's incredibly valuable things on the D&C side for us that people would be like, wait, you're saying I can resurrect my grandmother? We can have President Kennedy again run in 2016?
We can cure cancer?
We can cure cancer. My daughter can be, you're saying it's a, you know, 5th level spell for my daughter to be able to see again who has never seen, you know, and like it's, and even that, like, here we, you know, there's so many really awesome social aspects of this game. Like, you know, over here we're like, well, are these gods real or not? Here's an entire world where saying gods are absolutely real. You know, these clerics will now make these people completely. Yeah, everybody will walk out of this hospital completely healed. You know that. You know,
at a certain level of devotion, your god will appear before you in your time of need.
Exactly.
It kind of removes the question of faith.
Yeah, and then also, what do they say to us? Like, you're like, you guys worship gods that you've never seen that have never manifested power, you know.
Are you nuts? That's crazy.
You know, and so you know, and so one of the things I'm very excited about is, you know, we're really blessed to have incredibly talented players, and so I'm really interested about these talks that are going to happen between, you know, a pure D&D NPC and then Nerdarchy people here, and just, you know, how do we keep these worlds at peace? How do we save, you know, these baby dragons, which are literally, you know, infants, and, you know, they haven't even been born yet? Like, do we keep some of them over here? Do we make sure they're all returned? Do we seal up the rift and make sure it's never opened again?
Oh my God, I can just see the pro-choice contingents popping up and be like, if he wants to kill those baby dragons in the egg, that's their choice.
And so, you know, I'm a huge reader. If anybody's interested, I keep every book I've ever read on Goodreads. I've read 436 books to date, and so I love just bringing in all these political aspects, these social aspects. And
how do you know how many books you've read?
Because I have a list of every single which you keep on Goodreads. Goodreads will actually let you list, and I have the first book I ever read was like The Great Brain. I read it when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I've kept a list of every single book since then. I
had a list at one point in time. It was over 200, but I stopped counting there.
Yeah, and so my goal is I'd really like to read 1,000 books before I die, but we'll see if I get there. I also want to read the whole Hugo list. So, but one of the great things is when I'm GMing, I'm pulling, you know, narrative aspects and social aspects and political aspects from all these. And so one of the things that's really great is with this D&D thing, when we're playing playing D&D, it's awesome, and you can do a lot of really cool stories. But here we have a story where we can really combine really interesting aspects from, like drones, and really interesting aspects of magic, and and see
magic and technology meshed.
Yeah.
What can you get out of it? So let's just put it out there. If, like I said, like Dave says, if you want you to be an NPC in Scott's game, send an email. Just put Nerdarchy Saves the World as the subject. Send it to nerdarchy@gmail.com. Give a bio, where you are, any information you think that's going to be apropos. Send it our way. Dave will pass it along to Scott so that we don't have any spoilers.
Yeah,
I would love for Scott to get like hundreds of these emails from the pick and choose from.
Well, the other thing is, many of your skills out there are going to be incredibly valuable. So I would bet with thousands of followers, there's going to be some EMTs, there's going to be some doctors. If you don't have any traditional skills that you think are going to be immediately helpful, one of the things is where you live could be incredibly helpful. So basically, I'm going to be posting where these dragon eggs have dropped, and so just being able to have a safe house. Like, these guys are going to be on the run, so saying my home will be available to the Nerdarchy fans. The other thing is, I really expect there's going to be a point where an army needs to be pulled up, and so you can be the garrison point in your city or in your state for pulling together Nerdarchy guys. And I don't know, would we allow the Nerdarchy fans to also allow in maybe fans from Dwarven Forge cast, or Dawnforge cast, or any of so one of the things is there's millions of D&D players, so you could arguably have a force of 1 million people, and so one of the things is, that's the other thing that too is, like, we've had edition wars, right? What happens when there's an event where every D&D player says we're the only people who understand what's happening right now, and our knowledge and our ability to help shut down this
Chris
fight,
Perkins and Mike Morrell's become like prophets.
Exactly, yeah. Well, and even beyond that, like, the other issue is, I'll tell you right now, the first goblin that comes over here, when they start summoning, when Uja's people summon any creature, and it dies, if it doesn't disappear right away, or if every single object from that other world, every single corporation is going to want to have it. It's going to be incredibly valuable, and like also.
Or what happens when he starts arming orcs with M16s?
Right, or even weirder, if you're a Nerdarchy fan, you could get paid $2 million right out of the gate to be Coca-Cola's liaison to selling Coca-Cola products to the orcs in the D&D world. And those kind of crazy situations.
Disclaimer, that's a fictional
yes, exactly.
$2 million.
Yes, exactly. But I would tell you right now, every company would line up and say, oh my gosh, while these guys are fighting, as soon as this war is over, we're going to have products.
How do I make money?
Yeah, exactly. So
let me pose a question to you guys. Do we need a Facebook group for Nerdarchy Saves the World for people to discuss and talk about it?
Yeah.
Guys, in the comments below, do we have anything else to say?
I think
we cover it.
I think we're covered.
In the comments below, let us know, or even email us, like we said, at Gmail, nerdarchy@gmail.com. Nerdarchy Serves the World. What you guys want to see? We're going to forward it all to Scott. Do you guys want a Facebook group? Let us know in the comments. Is this something you guys want to interact with or talk about? Or maybe we'll put a forum just for this topic right on nerdarchy.com for you guys. Just let us know what you want in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
Or speaking of Facebook, you can come hang out with us over there. So until next time, stay nerdy.